Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. I'll leave a secured country, Buhari assures Nigerians. IMF cuts Nigeria's economic growth to 3.2%. Strike, how House of Reps brokered truce between federal government and ASUU. Lagos monarch disowns wife over the deputy governorship ticket. Lagos gets approval for Lekki Airport. Oyo Assembly kicks over EFCC's invitation to members. Why I am yet to release manifesto by Obi. Dangote Obajana cement properly acquired. All right, which story are we starting with?
Oyo Assembly. So I was shocked to see the clerk of the House of Assembly in Oyo, write query an EFCC invitation to members of the House to come and assist with information on an investigation on the finances of the Oyo State House of Assembly. So the EFCC had written that they are probing the finances of the House of Assembly in Oyo, and immediately they went to court to try to stop them, saying that they contravene Section 125 of the Constitution, which forbids any security agency from investigating the finances of the House of Assembly of any state, and resides only that power with the Auditor General of the state. Now, this is a court matter, but they're then saying, without getting an injunction against the EFCC to not come and investigate that. And so the clerk of the House, Mrs. Yetunde Awe, wrote a letter to the EFCC querying the propriety of their actions and telling them to stay off business of the House. So the House is not in any way, the members of the House are not in any way immune, and so they can be invited by any security agency in the course of investigating anything. So that's a separate matter from investigating the finances of the House. So whether the EFCC is investigating the finances of the House is a different matter. But whoever they want to invite, I think they can invite. Well, I don't know what they're trying to hide anyway. We'll go.
So the federal government has given approval for building of an airport in Lekki by the Lagos state government. The airport, the first phase of which would cost about $900 million, say it will cater to about 5 million air passengers around Lekki. Why are you dancing? Aja and Ekpe exists annually. Now, the approval letter was presented to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu by the Aviation Minister, Hadi Sirika, at the ongoing 9th Ehingbeti Lagos Economic Summit. The theme is Lagos State 2022 to 2052, charting the path to sustainable socio-economic growth. So Sirika said that the airports, when it's completed, will not only make Lagos accessible to everyone, but to also spur commerce and take trade to a greater level. And the governor was very, very interested and happy with this, saying that the airport will serve the interests of the people. They're trying as much as possible to make businesses easy, improve on the infrastructure of business. And they have a 30-year plan for Lagos.
It's like the only subnational that is doing national things, like the kind of railroads they are doing now. They are going to build airports. It's just, it's quite ambitious.
He's been asking for special
status, but it's not there yet to give them the special status.
But you can imagine the traffic.
I get that. Let me take this human interest story. So, Oloja Owekpe Oba Kamorudin Animashaun has disowned his wife. She went to go and pick up a deputy governorship ticket under the Social Democratic Party. Her name is Olori Morenike Abeni. He said, I would like to officially say, I have no idea. She did not discuss with me that she wanted to go and pick up the government ticket, that he is a supporter of the government.
Additional things.
How does it work? She didn't take my permission. So I'm thinking that's a hot topic.
Yeah.
Do you need your husband's permission or your wife's permission to take an
the African man.
It's a hot topic because you have an ambition.
You need to take permission.
Oh, no.
To come and talk
Don't talk of Oba.
You are married to the head of
the
tradition.
Listen, you have a political ambition. Maybe God has called you to be a politician. And this woman has now said, it is SDP I want. And my husband is PDP, for example. It's like, no, they have to. So can she have... So he has dissociated himself from her, said, I don't know, she didn't discuss with me. That in fact, he was
Are they divorcing?
Like, the paper didn't say that. Let's move on, I beg. Is there another story you mentioned that was important? Let's move on. Quickly to the Punch. Presidential fleet funding rises to 81 billion naira under Buhari. Nation building requires sacrifice, Buhari tells 450 honorees. Osinachi's husband abused her, singer's ex-employees tell court. Flood kills 500 injured, 1,546, says federal government. Lagos developer defrauds 200 house seekers. Victims blame police. Obajana acquisition followed due processes. Dangote. Obi unveils campaign team today on Haneze Lords Afenifere. ASUU awaits Buhari on no work, no pay, holds neck meeting. Okay, which story are we starting with? The human...
So the landlady of one-story building, identified as Kudirat, allegedly connived with an agent, Tunde Nojim Dean, to perpetrate fraud. Nojim Mudin, there's no Mudel. They spelled it in English, and I called it in English. So they had collected money from over 200 tenants, supposed tenants, that they had apartments to give them, only for them to arrive there on the 24th of September and found that they had only 14 flats. The guy ran away. The landlord was nowhere, a landlady was nowhere to be found. But later on, they were able to report them to the police station, and these tenants were crying. Some of them said they didn't have any other place to stay. They paid from 300,000 to 500,000. One of the guys was saying that his wife just put to bed and they don't have, in fact, they are crashing in the pastor's house because they were thinking that their house would be ready at the moment. Then they are taking the matter to the police station. They transferred it to the State Criminal Investigation Department, Yaba. And they realized that the state CID was requesting for 50,000 naira each before the case would be processed. That's from the people who had lost money already. And they said they didn't have the money. So they reported the matter to the Deputy Commissioner of Police, who gave a waiver and said they don't need to pay that money. However, the matter had not been taken up. Some people are saying that it seems like the man, that's the agent, has been conniving with the police. That, in fact, the police did not even pick him up. He went there himself, submitted himself. After investigation, they let him go. That he's been conniving with the police. He pays them off, and he's been doing this to so many other people over the years. So they are calling on the Lagos state government to do something about these 200 people who have lost money. And then the advice is, before you make that kind of payment, you need to do due diligence. Fraud is fraud. They should catch that man, arrest him, and prosecute him, take him to court and deal with him. How many investigations can you make before you pay for something? People set up online stores, do adverts, and then they are ripping people off, and you cannot do investigations. Right. How many investigations can you do?
There must be consumer protection.
Okay.
The floods. So finally, we heard the federal government on the flood through the ministry, the PAMSEC Ministry of... the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. So they called the meeting among relevant agencies, responding to the flood across the country. And they admitted that they lost 500 persons to these floods that happened across the country. 45,249 houses have been damaged. 70,566 hectares of farmland. Just imagine. That have been destroyed due to the flood. And they compared the magnitude of this flood to that happened in 2012, saying that, they've not seen this type in the past. But NEMA in this report now talked about what they found out by 9th of October. They said that the water level in Lokoja and Makurdi, those cities along the River Niger and the River Benue, rose to 11% above recorded level in 2012 so far. And this is what they've noticed, that 1.4 million persons were affected by the floods and displaced by the floods. Over 790,000 people displaced, 1,500 people injured. I love that they've taken this inventory. I want to see what they will plan to do, how we will respond to know the crisis that come with flood. After post-flood, you might have an epidemic because water diseases will be spread. Yeah. You have people displaced, of course. You've lost livelihoods, farm products, and all of that. So we might have drought, and we might have, lack of food. So I want to see what they'll do to respond.
Let me take the major headlines. So this is a report by Punch, says that the presidential air fleet has risen by 121% in the last 8 years. According to this report, our president's fleet has, let me give the breakdown. So according to them, 62.4 billion has been used for the operations and maintenance of the aircraft. They have about 10 aircrafts in the presidential fleet. And 70.2 billion for foreign and local trips, 2 billion earmarked for other related expenses. And according to them, they had tried to sell off two of his aircrafts, and they had buyers who had offered about $24 million, but unfortunately, they reneged and said that they didn't want to pay that much. They wanted to now pay $11 million. But the point is that the cost of maintaining our presidential fleet has risen, according to this report on Punch, to 81.8 billion naira. That is a conversation we need to have, because we're trying to say cost of governance is reduced. Punch did a real thorough report on how the president and vice president have what they spent on various travels across the world, and what's being used specifically for the maintenance of their aircraft. Why do they have 10 presidential fleets for going around? 10.
We have 10 presidents.
No, not 10 presidents. They have
That's a
8 now.
It's a conversation.
The conversation worth having. So,
How many
to look at this
presidents
report,
do we have?
says that Nigeria overborrowed to fund non-essential items, and President has failed to uphold the pledge to reduce the aircraft within the presidency. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. You got to take it.
Yes, so the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is still awaiting the decision of the President, President Muhammadu Buhari, on the no work, no pay rule invoked by the federal government since they started the strike 8 months ago. Then they said the President's decision on the matter is key to the decision of the union, and they cannot do anything without that decision. It also helped them determine whether they should call off the strike or continue the strike. So they said that it's only the president that can grant the waiver for the areas of the striking lecturers to be paid or not to be paid. And they are still waiting for that particular issue to be resolved. However, ASUU is planning to have a meeting with his counterparts all over the country to determine where to go forward, whether to go forward or not. And they have not said the day that they are going to be doing the meeting. Hopefully, something will come out of it.
Okay, so quickly, just since we've been taking the Obajana, Dangote, and the Kogi State government story, so the Dangote Industries Limited, which is the parent body of the Dangote Cement, has issued a statement that they acquired the land solely, the land on which the Dangote Cement is built in Kogi. They acquired it solely in 2003, and they paid taxes since 2007 to the Kogi State government, and that they had to issue this following, the accusations that they should come and show papers and all of that, and that at the time of in our present economic circumstances, it's become important that, they do the right thing to acquire and employ people and create businesses. Basically, they're just saying we have due papers. So let's see what the Kogi government will do.
Let's move on quickly to the Nigerian Tribune. How Nigerian doctors, other foreigners are exploited in the UK. That's the BBC report. Wiki appoints 14,000 advisors, 359 liaisons officers. Crude oil theft. Clark calls for judicial inquiry into the military's complicit. I will hand over Nigeria free of insecurity, says Buhari. Our acquisition of Obajana cement plants followed due process. Someone receives FFG's approval letter for Lekki Airport, and expect high-intensity rain and the riverine flooding. NIMET warns north central and southern states. Okay, which story are we starting with? Let's start with the major headline.
Yes, so it's a deep story. So Nigerian doctors recruited to practice in the United Kingdom are being professionally exploited. This was a report that was written by the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. And they said that doctors are being overworked to the detriment of the patients. There's also a possibility of the laws being broken in recruitment process as being handled by a British healthcare company. Now, the report states that the investigation found evidence that doctors from Nigeria are being recruited by a British healthcare company and expected to work in private hospitals under conditions not allowed in the National Health Service, that's the NHS. And the British Medical Association was quoted describing the situation as shocking. So when they brought it to them, they said that the matter was shocking to them, saying that the sector needed to be brought in line with the NHS. So BBC had to, speak to some of the practitioners, and a particular doctor who said he works in Health Leeds Hospital that was recruited in 2021, Augustine Enekwechi, said his hours were extreme. He has to work 24 hours a day for a week, and he was put in that hospital space. He was not allowed to go out, so he felt like he was in prison, meant to deliver. So they said the tiredness was very intense. There were times he was worried he could not properly function, and that was also, he was so scared it was also going to affect the patient he was, being treated. The companies organizing this recruitment, denied this, said there's nothing like that happening. However, there's the reports that 92% had been recruited from Africa and 81% were specifically from Nigeria. And they all complained about excessive working hours and unfair salary deductions. So I think there was a time the World Health Organization warned that they should not actively recruit from, underdeveloped countries. They should focus on building their own doctors. But that warning was not heeded. They still went ahead. They were recruiting from places like Ghana. There were other countries aside from Nigeria that had their doctors all over in the UK, and all of them kept complaining. Then they said when they came down to countries like Nigeria, they saw that there were, examinations that doctors needed to write to be able to go to the UK. And if you see the masses gathering their doctors that are ready to write these examinations because everybody wants to go for the better conditions, but they are not really having a good time and they are not treated like other doctors, their counterparts in that place. We need to review this. This japa that we are all trying to japa. Well, at the end of the day, it may not really pay.
Yeah, well, when there's...
It becomes an issue of cheap labor, right?
Yeah, it's cheap labor.
It's worth discussing, you're right.
It's also better when, when people are thronging in an area, it's also better to, do your own with clarity and reach a clear contract. Most of them are on contract.
I was going to take the story on the leader of the Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, that's Chief Edwin Clark, has called on the judiciary to increase the inquiry on the crude oil theft that has led to the dwindling revenue in the country. He was specifically saying that they discovered about 4 kilometers of illegal pipeline that has been planted. That it's beyond the Niger Deltans who are restive, but this is more like a mafia-like organized crime that have international backing.
Wow.
And that they need to really look into it. Let me really set up the news. Their illicit 4-kilometer pipeline through which crude oil is being siphoned goes to confirm what they've always been shouting about, that the issue of oil theft is perpetuated not just by the locals, but by mafia-like groups with connivance of some people in the industry using sophisticated engineering methods to carry out their nefarious activities. So this is worth a proper judicial inquiry into and see, because I know I saw a documentary recently on this. And those things cannot be installed manually. They have to be heavy-duty machines. How do those things? They have support of the military, they have support of security operatives, and they have total backing with various bodies who are supporting them. So you can't act as if we don't see these things.
Plenty people now in Chopper.
It's well.
It's sad, but my personal person, Governor Wiki.
Our cousin.
14,000.
He takes no prisoners.
Appointed
exactly
14,000 advisors for various political units in the states.
99 hours to his exit.
You not give a bad name. He said they are advisors for political units. And according to the spokesperson, the advisors will play a pivotal role in the administration of his state. Just as he was on his way out, he also appointed 319 ward liaison officers and 40 local government area liaison officers that, he says they work with immediate effect. Appointment takes immediate effect on the way out.
Who's going to pay them?
Maybe he's planning to pay from his personal coffers.
Which coffers?
I don't understand.
It's River State.
Is this needed at the time?
I don't understand.
There are River State people working for River State.
He has what, 9 months? Or how many months does he have to leave?
There are River State people working for River State.
I've said. Okay, some things are left unsaid. Any other story? We have. How much time do we have? We have just 2 more minutes. Any other stories in? I think we're actually done.
The Guardian.
Let's move very quickly to The Guardian. Buhari decorates Lawan Okonjo-Iweala, UN scribe and others. Stop blame games. Campaign with Buhari's records. PDP tells ruling party. Lagos received the approval for the Lekki airport. We talked that already. Peter Obi says he's a national movement, Ohaneze declares. How military corrupt NNPC officials, others steal Nigeria's crude oil. And IMF downgrades Nigeria's growth prospects amid pessimism and tension. Somebody had a...
I have the, yes, Obi story, but
Yeah.
not this particular one, but let me just take it. So the presidential candidate of the Labour Party and former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, explained why he would not release his party's manifesto in the 2023 general election yet. So he said he was interviewed by the BBC, and he said he was waiting for the positions of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, before releasing his manifesto. And, you know, they said he's been enjoying the wave of support of the youths, and he's facing serious criticisms for not releasing his manifesto. Everybody wants to see the manifesto. So he said that he will unveil it sometime next week. So let's hope that we'll get to see what he has to offer. But his main, according to him, he said his main focus will be on moving Nigeria from consumption to production. So let's see what he comes up with.
Okay, I think that is all we can take on Front Page Review when we come.